stream. This way a little bit. There we go. Straighten the camera up ever so slightly at least. Hey Chumendu, how you doing? You are certainly the first one here tonight. I think it might just be being picked up. Can you guys, can you hear the music in the background, or is it a little bit too quiet again, as per usual? Well, it's not really lurking if you've just announced that you're going to be lurking. Music is perfect. Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. No worries, no worries. I'm happy to build these sort of things. Just give it a few minutes for some people to turn up. So. I will move that out of the way in a minute. How is everybody doing this evening though? You all doing well? I'd also like to say hello to Cronborg 10. They subbed. I say subbed. They followed the stream whilst I was offline, and Plus Plume also followed the stream whilst I was offline. So, welcome. So let's grab a couple of the bits. So we'll show them off at the beginning of the stream at the very least. I haven't opened this up yet. True. But I can imagine that it's going to be very PCB shaped. Hi Mini Ninja. I'm sorry I scared you. I didn't mean to scare you that much. Yeah, it's the new PCB smell. It's let's just give it a. I can't really smell anything. I mean, it smells of just nothing, really. Set it down to the side. It's a lovely PCB, though, I have to admit. Let's put this knife away before I end up stabbing myself in the hand or something. Wouldn't be the best option, I don't think. How are you doing this evening though, Mini Ninja? That's good. 8, huh? It's good to hear. It's good to hear. I hope everybody's had a good weekend so far. So we'll get on with this whole build stream. So you can see in front of me I have a bunch of purple switches. These are Zealios, These are the V2 Zealios as well. So all of these ones here, by these two, I've lubed each of these with some Krytox 205. Camera's not wanting to focus. A bit of Krytox 205 grade 0. And so what I've done for all of these switches is I've lubed the rails and I've lubed the back, and on the top housing I've lubed the rails, the back and the front on the top housings as well. From there, the client Chu, who's in chat, has asked for them to be spring swapped, so they've been spring swapped to 72 gram sprit springs, and from there I've then put them all back together and they are sounding and feeling much better. We've got a few extra people. Hi Alex, how's it going? He says, I'll be watching the lubing for once, going to give it a try for some more Sky switches I'll be ordering. That's a very good choice. I've got some, which Skies did you go for? The tactile ones or the silent linears, or a different one? And hello Warden, how you doing? Yes, this is Choose Build. So many prime crowns, yes. None of them have subbed to me. Unfortunately, I don't have that just yet. I'm not partnered just yet. So maybe when I am, you guys can prime sub to me. Yeah, I'll be able to show you the films that I mentioned. Yeah, I'm going to be doing. So these two switches here, are the ones that you asked to have done in 78 grams. So space bar and escape key. So I just haven't done those yet, so that I can show them off on the stream on how, number one, how I lube it, and number two, the different components that go into this. So. Aniki says, I was recommended silent tactiles. Yeah, the silent tactiles are what I put into Dan's board, Dan's TKL, and they are lovely. They are really nice. Definitely do better with a little bit of lube, those switches. Okay, so we've got these switches here, and so I need to do these two here, but let's have a look at the other components that are going into this. So this is the Plain60 PCB, and it is simply that, really. It's a 60% PCB that has been made with no frills, and it's just a really well made board. You can see that it doesn't have the normal LEDs, but it's got a decent few layouts that you can choose. I see that it has ISO, it's got split back shift, backspace, it's got split right shift, split left shift, so you can do all of those. And this is the other side of it, and so you can see that it's got a nice little USB-C connector up here, and it's not like some of these boards that have got like TNCs and stuff like that, to keep costs down. So he sent me over a file, a JSON file, that I'll be doing after the stream, so I'll be testing it after the stream, but give you a little bit of an idea on how it sounds and everything. Just get rid of the bubble wrap. And so what he's also sent me is he has sent me through this. I'm trying to hold it from the sides because it is sandblasted and they normally do pick up fingerprints quite easily. So this is his sandblasted 60% layout that he's going for. Do I have it the right way around? No, I do not. This way around. So this is his layout. So you can see that he has gone with split back shift, backspace. He's also gone for what is, I think, 1.25 or 1.75U right shift and then an extra key. he's going ANSI layout and a 6.25U bottom row. So standard bottom row with 6.25. Quite a nice plate, to be fair. It's been cut by Laserboost because I assume that it's been cut by Laserboost, seeing as the package that it was sent in had Laserboost sat on the side of it. So yeah, let's catch up with the chat a little bit. Borden sounds like a hype beast. He always sounds like a hype beast. But Borden is being very elitist here. Some people don't want to build their own boards. It's a daunting task. It is a daunting task for some. Alex says we'll have about 300 to do for my Waytech and 2X 1800. You got one of the 2X 1800s. Wow. I thought that was just a meme of a board. That was really. Imagine trusting a pro to build it and then me fucking it up. yes, you don't want to. I've had a few boards that people have that I've worked on handed it back and they've changed it, and yeah, it's then been sent back with repairs to be done. Yes, it is an ANSI layout. It is an ANSI layout today, and Borden, I'll continue that tone if you're gonna give me that sort of prospect for the next meetup. So those are the two parts that he's given. So what I'm actually going to be using tonight is sorry, he has sent a couple of other bits. So he sent some stabs. These are just, what are they, GMK screw-in stabs, and he's also obviously sent the switches. They're here. But the thing that I'm going to be using, I've taken apart one of my own boards, so I have a black Tofu case that it's going to go in, and behind me somewhere I have also got a set of GMK White on black that will be used for this build. So why don't we get to lubing these and sorting these two switches out for you guys, and I'll take it nice and slow, so if you've got any questions do pop them in the chat. More than happy to help you out with lubing tips. Obviously these are tactiles, so this is going to be a guide on, well, sort of a guide on how to lube tactile switches. So why don't we just pop them open first. So I've got a little switch cracker sort of thing. I can't remember, I think this is the Key Boss one. So we're just going to pop them apart. So that is the switch in two pieces, well, 4 pieces really. So we're going to put the top housing there. We don't need this spring anymore, but we'll put it there because we're going to be going for some slightly more premium springs. Just do the same thing for the other one. Like that. So those are the two switches opened up with the springs removed. So what we're going to do is we're going to get working on this bottom one, the bottom housings first. So let's just open some 205 grade 0 up. So what I like to do is I like to load the brush up. I mean, when it comes to it, I'm not actually going to use this amount of lube. It just makes it easier. So you can see that I've got a nice bit of lube on the end of there. So let's just pull one of these switches out so it makes it a little bit easier. So if I bring this close, put the brush down for a second because I don't need it in hand. So let's see if we can get this in focus nicely. So the bits that I'm going to lube are this rail here, this rail on the other side, this wall, can you see the wall here, there, and the stem post in the centre there. So I'm just going to put a little bit down into the centre and rub it around. So the idea is that I'm going to lube these, any friction spots that there are. So this right hand side, the left hand side, the wall, and you do sometimes get a little bit of friction there and where the post would go. So we'll just do that now. So we'll just add a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, a little bit there. Just get rid of a little bit of this, because you need barely anything on the brush to be able to lube the center post. So, and we're just going to push down into the center post, circular motion, and then the outside. So what you can see is, you can see a little bit of lube here, a little bit of lube here, and a little bit of lube on the bottom. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to rub that in nicely. And so one thing definitely to note for when you're lubing switches is, do not over lube straight away. It's one of those processes that you can just add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit, add a little bit. So there we go. Should now go on completely clear. And obviously, if that's not enough lube, we can just add a tiny bit more. So there we go. We've now got a lubed bottom housing. You should be able to see it's gone almost completely clear. Okay. So what we'll do is we're just going to put that on the back, and we're going to just do the same thing. And you get into a bit of a routine with this. So, Chu, yes and no to that question. So what you generally find with lubing switches is there is a little bit of a break-in period where the lube sort of moves about into where it's needed, but over time you'll generally find that a little bit of dust might get into there. Like we're talking a year or more. After a year or more, you'll find little bits of dust get in there. You'll find that the lube has been pushed away from the spots that it needs to be in. And so generally, I mean, a year or more, 2 years, I'll generally reopen it back up, lube it, and you'll feel that it starts to get a little bit sort of crunchy, a little bit like not as smooth as it used to be. And so just open it back up, either clean it out. I use isopropyl alcohol to clean it out, and then just relube. And it's quite an easy process, but realistically, in the lifespan of a normal keyboard, 2 years is more than some, but most people own their boards in the community. So sorry, I'll just go back over chat. I did post a pic in the Alex says I did post a pic in the Discord on the pics channel. Yep, I did see it. I saw that picture and I completely forgot about it, but that's the one that is sold by not Scully. It is Scully. Clueboard made it, and they brought that as an April Fool's thing, didn't they? Borden says, tempt me with that 7U pristine spacebar. It's not the 7U pristine spacebar. Do you not have the pristine spacebar? I thought that was included in the. If not, it's the actual pristine spacebar will be behind. The Cyan kit is actually a completely separate kit that I bought, and I was just sort of giving you them because it doesn't go with white on black at all. Oh, and Andy is here. Andy says, I have a question, and then he's debated it and says, no, I don't have a question. How's it going? I'm very good. So you did have a question. How are you doing though, Andy? Are you home at the moment? Because if you are, you could probably lob a stone through the window from here. Borden says, no, I never had a 7U with it. Oh, in which case, sorry about that. And it'll be in the box just in there. I'll give it a check. They normally send the space bars in like a little plastic container sort of thing, and so they're separated. Oh, I did. Alright, so let's get back to this. So here is our switch yet again. We'll bring it in I'm going to try and bring it in a little bit closer this time. So we're going to add a little bit of lube just here. A little bit of lube just here. You can see that. We're going to add a little bit of lube on the bottom bit here. The camera doesn't want to focus. Come on. There we go. So you can see there's a little bit of lube on the bottom there. I'm just going to brush off the remainder that I've got. And we're just going to do, if I can get this right, the post in the middle. You guys see that? And we'll just do it on the outer edge of the post. And so I'm now just going to rub that in nicely. And I'd say that I'm probably going on what would be classed as the conservative end of how much some people use for this. So as you can see, it's pretty much completely clear again on the bottom housing. So if I weren't lubing a tactile tonight and I was lubing a linear instead, I would be also doing this little metal leaf at the back here. Can you see it? I'd be lubing the point in which it makes contact. So you can see here where I'm pressing, that's where I'd be lubing as well. So I'd add a little bit of Krytox 205 grade 0 there and on the other side as well. And that ensures that it's super duper smooth. I'm obviously not going to do that this evening because this is the reality is somebody buying Zealio V2's, they're buying it for the tactility. You add lube to there, it dramatically reduces the tactility. I would be expecting it to be something like 50%. You cut the tactility in half by 50%, so pretty impressive amount. Sure, you get a more well-rounded bump from these, but at the same time you lose that lovely sharp tactility that Zeal has obviously gone for. So what I'll now do is we're going to just lube the top housings. So some people have said that lubing the top housing doesn't do anything. Some people say that it does. I'm in the camp of yes, it does do something, and it's not that much extra time to be able to get it to there. So I'll just put the brush down again. So you can see that we've got rails up at the top here, just here, here, here on this side as well, and on the back side of it all. It's quite difficult just to move the camera around, and so this side here, all of this bit here. Can you see it all? So this is all stuff that the slider will make contact with, and so I think that it's strongly advised to do it, because if I take this here, you can see that it is making contact with that section, and it's a flat surface. See if we can see from the other side. You can see that it's making contact on the rails, it's also making contact on the bottom and the top. So give that a little bit of lube and the switch will love you forever. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to do the same. Just lost a little bit of lube to the side of the thing. So if I bring this up close again, just going to do the same as what we did before. So I'm just going to add a little bit of lube there, a little bit of lube onto this back edge. I've added a little bit of lube here already on this bit, and so we're just going to add a little bit of lube on that side. So if I bring this in close, you guys should be able to see there's a bit of lube there on the back edge. On the side edge you can see it there sticking out, and on that edge there. Yeah. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to wipe my brush clean, and we'll just rub it in nicely. So after we've rubbed this in nicely, all four edges, there we go. Obviously the brush takes a little bit with it when you do that, so we're back to a clear edge. You can just about see some lube residue there, another clear edge, and you'll probably find that you can just about see some lube residue there. So that's the top housing completed. So I'll just do this other one quickly. We're not going to be lubing the stems on these at all, because there's enough lube on the bottom housing and the top housing that any points of contact that I want lubed will get lubed on the stem. Any points of contact that I don't want being lubed, such as the legs on it, won't be. So you keep that lovely tactility whilst gaining a nice amount of lube on there. Lovely smoothness. Okay, so we'll just go around it again. You can see all four sections. Yeah. So just wipe the brush clear, and I'll just rub it in nicely. And so obviously when you get into a rhythm of this sort of thing, but when you're doing 90 switches, 180 switches, stuff like that, you do want something like what I've got in front of me, the switch lubing station I've got here. So what we will do is, let me take out, I have a stem holder here in the thing. So I'm just going to put the stem into the stem holder so you can see what we now have. Come on, focus, there we go, that's beautiful. So what you can now see is we've got, oh no, come on, stay focused, there we go, there we go. So what we've now got is the stem here, and so this stem holder was given to me by Stocksy, but you can see you've got the little legs here and here. They're what give you the tactility. You've then got the, oh, doesn't quite want to stay focused. You've then got the stem rails here, and so this is going to be a major point of contact. You've got the back, which we've lubed the housings for, and then you've got the other stem rail there. And so those stem rails should get enough lube from the bottom and the top housing for them to stay nice and smooth. If I were to be doing a linear, however, I would come back and lube these. So I would lube all portions of this, including the post as well. And so on a linear, you want to be lubing the legs, the rails, the post, and the back. Okay. But for this, because it's tactiles and they are such nice tactiles, don't want to do that. So what I've then done is we've got some 78 gram Zeal springs in here, and you can see that the bag is like a little bit liquidy, almost like it's got some water in it, but what we've got in there is some 106 Krytox 106 poured into there. And so what I like to do is I like to bag lube my springs, and it just gives them an even consistency, I find, and it also saves you an awful lot of time compared to individually lubing each spring, which can double the build time. So what I've done is all I've done is put the springs into the bag, filled the bag with a little bit of lube, and all you then do from there is close the bag off. So you need a little jiffy bag sort of thing, and then you just gotta put some air into it. So we've now got a bag with some air in it. And all you then do is just give it a quick rattle around. I think this bag, funny enough, has got a little tiny micro hole in it, so it is leaking air out. So I've done this before the stream, so you can see that that's why there's lube all over the sides. So all we're going to do now is we're just going to take a couple of springs out. We don't need very many springs for this. We do only need 2 springs. So there's the 2 springs. So on the recommendation from me to Chu, I did say that I was able to do switch films. So this is a little bag of 100-piece bag of switch films that I bought some time ago for other projects, and I've had these left over. So I've done him a little bit of a deal because I think the switch bags cost me $7 or $8 or something like that, and so a $5 for actually installing them and everything like that. So what we've got is, this is going to be extremely difficult to get the camera to focus on because they are very thin. We'll see if we can get it done though. There we go. You guys can probably, now that just makes it worse. You guys can probably see it against that, right? Do I have something that might? Can you guys see the little film there? I can't. I'm looking at the stream and I can't quite tell. I'm trying to put it against a white background. You can see that, yeah? Okay, that's perfect. So this is a switch film, and so what the switch film does is it goes in between the top and the bottom housing, and it just, when you use them, it gives the stem a little bit more stability, and it means that it wobbles less, and so you get a little bit less friction overall. Just by pushing the top housing up a little bit further. What it does mean is that you get slightly more pre-travel. There is, I mean, these are really tiny thin pieces, but you get a gained bit of pre-travel. So for all of these switches on here, they've all been filmed. They've all been lubed as well, and so it gains a little bit of pre-travel, a tiny amount, tiny amount. So the way that you install these is, this is going to be extremely difficult to catch on camera. So we've got our switch, and you just put it over the top. I haven't got it held particularly well. There we go. So you just lower it in place like that, and you can see that it's almost invisible at this point. On other switches you can see it a little bit better, but it's almost invisible. So what we then do is we'll take the spring, we'll take our spring, and we'll place our spring in place. So we've now got most of the switch built. Yeah. And so what we'll just do is I'll pick the stem up, and so the stem sits in place, and then the top housing goes back on. So we'll just lower that in place. So we've now got a built switch, just needs to be pressed back together. So there we go. We have now got a 78 gram Zealio V2 that has been lubed, stickered and spring swapped. And also a much quieter Zealio V2. For those that have heard the difference in spring sounds that I have, you're reducing the noise by a crazy amount. It goes from being easily heard on a board to completely unhearable. So what we're just going to do is I'm just going to grab another one, and we'll do this one quickly so we can get on with the rest of the build. So switch, we'll place the film on there, so the film is now in place. You can see the film, you can just about see the film. There you go. If I do that, it'll push it up a little bit. Get the spring in place. I am just hand holding these stems, but obviously if you're doing this for a longer amount of time, you can generally get a little bit of lube on your hands, and you don't want to do that on tactiles. And then there we go, 78 gram switch. So that is my method of lubing, spring swapping and stickering switches. Obviously do change it up a little bit for linears, and generally clickies I keep identical to tactiles, so if that's any help to you guys. So what we'll do is we are going to put all of the stuff that we don't need away now. And there is a bunch of stuff. So Chu, does that give you a better idea on what I do for your switches, or what I've done to your switches? I hope that was helpful to you, Alex, as well. And if you missed all of that, it will be in the VOD. So what we're now going to do is we're now just going to move this aside a little bit, move the other bits aside. So what we're going to do, Chu says that was fantastic, fully convinced. I'll be getting someone else to do it. Yes, it does take a while. I took about an hour and a half, 2 hours today to do them. So we have got a layout here that Chu has decided to use, and so he has sent me some stabs. He sent me all of the stabs that he had. So these are all of the stabs that came from his HS60, and so he has had these it lubed and clipped. What I'm just going to do is just very quickly go back over, lube it, re-lube it, and just check them out just to make sure. It does look like they haven't been clipped entirely properly, so I may well go back. I don't know if you guys can see on this. It's just it's going to be very difficult for you guys to see this, but on this bottom, on the bottoms, you can see these little nubbins sitting. Just it's going to be a little bit too difficult. I can't get it to focus. It's focusing black on black here. It's very difficult to show you. So there's a little bit of hair or something there. Let me just see if I can play about with the camera. I'm going to make it brighter here, guys. So there we go. So you can see that he's had it lubed. But that's, let me take these apart. I'll take it apart and it'll be much easier to show you. I am going to clip these, re-clip these again if this is the case, because they aren't clipped entirely flush. So let's just get this here, move it back a little bit. So you can see you've got these little bits poking out, and so these will be making first contact with the plate, sorry, the PCB. So what you want to do is you want to chop these down. You can see if I bring it further around, you can see that nearly. You can see that they just about stick out. So I'm just going to chop these off. Yes, well, you say a USB microscope. I have got a second camera, and so I have got, if I get it from over here, I have the Canon 100mm. The bottom is off currently. It was over here. So I have got the Canon 100mm f2.8 macro. So I should be able to get a nice close-up shot in the future. It's just the fact that the other camera is elsewhere in the house at the moment. So behind me. So I'll just catch up the chat a little bit. Sorry, yep, Jordan, I'm going to have a look. I'll have a look this evening to see if I can find something, find that spare spacebar. It is about somewhere. I was pretty sure that I put it into there, but it may well just be behind me somewhere. Clockwork, hello Clockwork, and first time that I've seen you here. And he says, or they say, how are Zealios? Worth it even if unlubed? Yes, if you like sharp tactility, I would 100% say yes. Yeah, they're somewhere around Box Royals, somewhere around Pandas on level of tactility. Not as round, quite a lot sharper. But I mean, I much prefer them. I much prefer them, and so I would 100% say unlubed is fine, but definitely do a spring swap. The springs are so much noisier, so much that it's like a metal crunching sound sort of that you get from the springs that Zeal includes. So I'd definitely say even just popping them open and swapping the springs out, you're going to do a world of difference. So but I mean, my services aren't that expensive, as Chu will say, so I mean, I'm more than happy to lube switches and stuff like that for you if that's something that you might want. So in the essence of time, because we have been, how long have we been live for? We have been live for 43 minutes and we haven't actually built anything yet. I'm just going to chop these down so that they are all flush. These are probably likely to pink all over the shop, seeing as it's such a tiny bit of plastic. So I'm going to be getting the Hoover out after this stream and getting rid of that. Chumandu says bump is right at the top, so it's quite sharp. Yes, it is quite sharp. If you get them stock, there is no pre-travel, and so as soon as you press, you're hitting that bump, and then it falls away immediately. So it's one of the reasons why it feels so sharp, is because it immediately falls away once you actuate. I hope that none of this gets into my drink. Chumendu says, Matt, where did you get that holder for the RMK plate from, or do you have another? Oh, you mean this? So this is actually a my phone's holder. So it's just a USB-C holder. And funnily enough, the holder isn't that great, and so you need a little bit of a wedge to go behind the phone, and that actually sits perfectly. And seeing as the phone is in the other room, you can see the RMK. Albeit, we should have had our RMK UK ones, but beggars can't be choosers, can they? So, Clockwork, are you thinking about potentially buying some Zealios? if my memory serves me rightly, we only need 3 lots of stabs. Okay. Nearly finished clipping these clean. Same thing. So, any of you Game of Thrones fans out there? Who is excited for the last episode of Game of Thrones? Until they do the prequels, but who's excited? I am certainly sort of on the edge of my seat. I'm wondering what they're going to do, and how number 2, how they're going to salvage this this last season, seeing as. I mean, the unwashed masses are not happy with what has happened. And I sort of can't blame them either, because it says here. They should have added another 6 episodes. 6 episodes for the final is rushed. I agree. I completely agree. I think that they could have added quite a lot more episodes and had it flow a bit better. And alright, so spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't watched the latest episode of Game of Thrones. Just mute the chat, and I'll give you a wave in a second. Mute it, and so. Alright, 3, 2, 1, mute. Okay, so I think that the decline of Daenerys' mental health would have been better over, say, 10 or 12 episodes, because you could have seen that degradation of her falling into madness, not the 1 episode, 2 episodes that it took for her to go completely bonkers, because in the book there's hints towards her mental state becoming unhindered throughout as you get further and further into it. So I did feel that it was just a bit rushed, that they just took it and moved way too quickly. So let's give them a wave. There you go. Okay, so you guys are allowed back now. So what I will do is, just before doing anything soldering wise or anything like that, I'm going to give my fingers a clean, because I'm getting lube everywhere. And this is car lube as well, so this is what is it, silicone grease, and so it's a little bit more prone to ruining, having horrible marks and stuff like that on a nice black keyboard, black case, which I would not want to do. So after trying these, by the way, oh, I just dropped a bit. After trying these, by the way, Chew, I have decided that my Satisfaction 75 that I'm going to be building, when I get it eventually, is going to be Zealio V2's with 72 gram springs and 78 gram modifiers. So identical to what you've got here now, because I'm quite enjoying them. Unfortunately I sold my Zealio V2's a little while ago to Dan, and I think he got the better end of the deal because I really missed them afterwards. And I've got some Xylants. I built a Xylants board, the one that was actually in the HS60, funnily enough, and so I built that, and I thought to myself that I could really do with another one of these, and in more of a layout that I prefer. So I am going to blame you 100% for doing this to me, because I was originally going to have linears in there, so it's entirely your fault that I'm going back to tactiles again. So I need to get going because we have an hour and 10 minutes before Jay's stream starts, and I would like to be sat there eating my curry whilst watching his stream. So another tactile user is winning my book. Well, so I have 2 of each board at the moment, and then 1 little extra. So I have got some Zealios behind me, funnily enough, but they're in the little board just here. So that is just more of a, I don't want to say fun board or fun build, but that's my Great Wave 40% board, and unfortunately I thought maybe I'll get on with 40%. People go on about how great 40% is, and no, TKL is life, as Meowsaur has once said in the past. I mean, we all know how much of a fan she is of these things, and so yeah. That should be enough stabs done now. So, because all we need to do is left shift, ANSI left shift, ANSI enter, 6.25 use space. So let me just go wash my hands quickly, because like you guys can probably see the ends of my fingers there. A little bit gross now, and they're a little bit sticky. So I'll be back in 2 seconds, guys. And I am back, guys. So let's get this board starting to be built at the very least. So 6.25 use spacebar goes into this one here. So we are going to take a little bit of hockey tape. So I do this for all of my builds nowadays. I don't bother not doing it because it does make such a difference. So let's just put the lube cap back on. Probably should have done that before washing my hands. So let me just get my little snippers. There we go. And so all this is doing is just dampening the sound when you slap the stabilizers down. And it's very similar to the Band-Aid mod. The Band-Aid mod is more well known, but this is pretty much a similar material to the Band-Aid, and you can also get it in a massive roll even, for I think I spent £4 or £5 on the whole roll, so I throw it in for free on people's builds nowadays. Same with the lubing of stabs and stuff like that. Just put that down there, and that one there. So that's how it goes pretty much, and so you get a look sort of like that, and all it does is you just position them there nicely, and it just stops it from hard plastic on hard plastic really. So I'm just going to get these other two done quickly. Fortunately, I managed to break this little penknife scissors the other day. The little spring that's normally in there, I managed to ping off somehow. So it's infinitely more difficult than it normally is. So we'll just add one for the anti-left shift. And we'll just do one more for the anti-right shift. Andy, no. Andy asks, well, I'll just say what Andy asks. Andy asks, is this for you, Matt? The board, I mean. No, it is not. It is not my board. It is Chumandu in the chat's board. He sent it to me for what could only be classed as the works. And so, yeah. So that's the three stabilizers that are going on this board. So let's just put these in place now. Move this way up. Let's just get a screwdriver. These are just the little extra screws that come with, that GMK screw and stabs come with. So he sent me everything, so I've got a bundle of extra screws and stuff like that here. Unfortunately, my stock of them ran out the other day. I'm going to need to be ordering some more of these shortly. We've been live an hour and I have not had a switch in the board yet. Hashtag still faster than Jay. Okay, we're getting there on the stabs side of things now. So, et voila, the stabs are all installed. So he is obviously going for ANSI enter, 6.25 use space, and ANSI left shift. And then he's not going for the normal backspace, he's going for a split backspace, and he's also going for a 1.75 use. So you don't need, you do not need stabs for those. So let's get the plate and just sort of lower it into place nicely. There we go. So I'm just going to take a few of these now, and we're just going to push them into place very gently. Just want to be able to get it so that it's not going to move about on me. And so from what I can see is that he has decided to go for the meme relief cards on this board. Not sure exactly how good they are, but we'll go with saying yes on this PCB, on this plate, I should say. So, does the right shift not need -1U on the right? No, it doesn't. I mean, the plate that you supplied to doesn't support it anyway. But no, you don't need it. It doesn't need a. It doesn't need to be stabilised in any event. So. That one has just bent over. So blame it on stocks. Blame it on stocks if it's wrong. To be fair, I blame him for most things, even if it's not his fault. I've managed to bend the leg of that one, so but I've got some extras, and I'll find a pair of pliers in a little bit to unbend that one. I've also just realised that this one in the top right hand corner shouldn't be in there because you wanted your escape key to be the 78 grams, so we'll just swap that across. Yeah, that's looking fine. For some reason the plate is bowing a little bit. There we go. So let's just get a couple more switches. We're just going to go for some centralised switches here so that they look about right. For a few different rows of them. It's just so that when we solder these in place that we've got a nice firm hold of where things are going. Couple in the corners, so we'll put one in here, and put one in this corner as well. Excellent. There we go. So this is where we're at the moment. So we've got a few switches installed, and what I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to go around the board and just make sure these are soldered in nicely. So let's get this flicked on. Move my drink out of the way for the moment. Temperature have I got the soldering line set to? Is it going to be too hot? Yes, it is. 350 degrees it looks like. So let's just turn that down. We're going to want you at 320. 320 degrees centigrade. So it'll come down now. Okay. And so I've got a little bit of Loctite branded solder here, my go-to solder. It's also trade secret Pexon's go-to branded solder, and we'll just get a couple of these switches installed, soldered in place nicely. Oh, this board does solder nicely. So I'm going to leave that one in the top right hand corner for a minute because it's always the scariest, because there's a bunch of componentry around there that I obviously do not want to fuck up. I've missed one there. Where's my desoldering pump when I need it? Had it here a minute ago. I've managed to bend one of the little the legs on it, so I'm just gonna pull the solder back out of there and just reheat that and do that again. I think I might. Oh no, I didn't know. Desoldering pump is not playing ball. Oh, come on, little guy. Work for me. There you go. So this one here. Yeah, just bent one of the legs. So we'll put you up there. And we'll just put a new one through. There we go, both legs are through now. Obviously, all of the unused switches that are here, they will be going back to Chew with the board, and obviously he can do what he pleases with them, but I will unbend the legs for him. With whatever keyboard project you have, it's always better to have a few extra switches and not be disappointed by bad quality control. Flip this round. I'm just going to do this switch up in the top right. And then after this point, we're good to
good to go on putting all of the other switches in place, making sure that they pop in nicely and then soldering them in place. So that's all of them. So what we're just going to do is we're just going to fill the board now, get all of the switches down in place, and then just do a quick sanity check to make sure that they are all of the legs are pointing through and everything like that. So and then off stream, what I will do is I'll go around this whole board and double check to make sure that all of them are working as they should. He sent me through a JSON file earlier today, and I will upload it onto here, make sure it works before sending it on back. So. So we've got a nice spacebar one here. This is the other 78 gram one. So this is going to go up in the top corner. So we have got a bunch of extras here, which is good. 6 extras total. So let's just make sure. So we've got one on the bottom row here that's got a bent leg. It's very easy to bend a leg on a switch, so and it's very easy to bend it back again. So it's nothing to be worried about. So the bottom row is now all good. The next row is also all good. The next row after that is all good. After that, all good. Top row, all good. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to make sure that these are pushed in just nicely. Don't want them escaping. Okay, they're all in place nicely. So I'm just going to go around, whip round with the soldering iron now and make sure everything is soldered up just nicely. Shouldn't take too long. And so we'll start on the bottom row and make our way up. This is a lovely board to solder with, by the way. The pads are just nice. So what has everybody been up to this weekend? Has everybody had a chill time? I had a wedding to go to on Friday, and yesterday we had a Eurovision party. Went up to one of my fiance's friends' houses up in London, and yeah, we had a Eurovision party up there. Some mad acts. There is some mad acts at Eurovision. It was slightly bemusing at times, but I like the idea of a very plain PCB like this one. Very well, it's not exactly clever, but the design aspect of it is very clean. Why do you need all of the tat that sometimes these manufacturers throw at it when you can just have something that does exactly what is needed? Albeit I am a big fan of RGB, so there is that to be said that is missing off of this, because I do own a HS60, but USB-C, it's got all of the switch stuff, it's just nice and easy. Don't need to be messing around with LEDs or anything like that. Well made PCB, so. Right, so we're on the last row of switches now. I've done the 2 around the USB port, so this should be nice and simple. Just get it along and done. So what is Andy up to at the moment then? Seeing as you're not living near me at the moment, how's exam season going? I guess. Alex says, had fun clearing the holes in the Waytech PCB. The plated holes for the ground were so well connected that the ground plane of the PC was acting as a heatsink. Wow, that is very well connected. Jeez, I only wish that Apple took ideas out of that and made their heatsinks work a bit better. So was that yesterday's project then, Alex, or are you doing that at the moment? Cool. So we are now completed on all of the switches. I'm just going to go through and double check to make sure that I haven't missed one out or missed a pin out, as I have done in the past. It's got soldering. Yeah. That is all soldered up. So let's turn the iron off. So this is his finished board. These are 72 gram Zealio V2's that have been lubed and stickered or filmed and such. So let me just tidy some of this up and we'll get it put into my little case here, and from there we'll get some white on black keycaps. Alex says yesterday, all prepped now, just need switches, and bi-colour LEDs will be interesting. Bi-colour LEDs. So are these LEDs that you can switch between different colours, or is it just shining sort of 2 colours at once sort of thing? Andy says looks good. Chimandu says beautiful. That's good to hear. Andy says, why would you film Gatorons? So filming these adds a little bit of pre-travel. So Zealio V2's, the bumper's right at the top, so it gives it a little bit of pre-travel, but it also gives them a little bit less switch wobble. So let me just unscrew all of this. Oh, sorry for that huge noise just then, guys. Oh, I see. So, to be completely fair, the reason I'm adding pre-travel sort of back into it as such is because with sprit springs, they are ever so slightly taller than the original Zealio springs that are used, so you need to add a little bit of pre-travel. It brings you pretty much back to what Zeal does, so Zeals feel like at the very least. Okay, is that going into there? Yep, it's showing. Okay. The great thing about these gold screws is that they are magnetic, so I don't have to faff about with them so much. So Alex says 2 separates plus pins, 1 for each colour with the common ground pin, so LED with I'm guessing that's the different colours depending on what pin is active. Oh, that's cool. Different light. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's very cool. You think I can get Oblivion shipped to you, Matt? I'm guessing when you send when it comes out. Yeah, you can get it shipped to me. You probably have a 50% success rate of getting it back. But sure, ship it to me. Ship it to me. I don't mind. Happy to receive keycaps. Which reminds me, actually, Andy, I did say that I would be doing the Taobao group buy version 9 electric true glue, not boogaloo at this point. It's we've gone way past. Will Andy be joining? Will anybody else in chat be joining my Taobao group buy? As I said, you may well be able to pick up some cheaper Zeal switches. They may not be branded as Zeal ones, but I'm sure you can find somebody on there. Chimandu says, I will. Good to hear. Good to hear. Ooh, Andy said he's going to get some juicy stuff. Obviously, Andy, I will be shipping it out from where we live to be delivered to you. Unless you want the personal service, and I can come deliver it in person. So, here we go. So this is the board at the moment. So I'm just going to get some keycaps now, and we're going to build it up quickly. Whilst we've got the remaining bit of the string. So in here, I've got a bunch of bits. So always going to be having a flipped spacebar. Oh, that's nice. Don't use that shift key. Don't need that backspace key. Don't need either of those. That's W. Hate doing the. It's 3. Maybe this one help. Ooh, they sound really nice. Slightly jealous. Slightly wishing I wasn't going to have to be sending this back. But at least I'll have my own version of this further down towards the end of this year. At least then. Should catch up on chat. So many little trinket items on there. There is far too many. Big old juicy stuff. Postman Matt, yes. I need to order an electric screwdriver. Yeah, there's those ones that oh, I can't think of his name. Strange Parts. He bought one, I think, from there. Black and white caps. Funny story, actually. The other day I got back to the local train station to us, Andy, and I met whilst I was on the train. The local postman to us was on the train with me, completely bladdered out of his mind, could not walk whatsoever, and I ended up having to get a taxi back with him to make sure that he got home, because he was going to attempt to walk home. Yeah, when I mean completely gone, I mean, but yeah, our local postman. I'd be surprised, Andy, if you were still seeing him, seeing as you are quite a way down. Chumandu says no electric or magnetic. Looks like I struggle with the PCB screws. Yeah, it's one thing that I always hate with any keyboard build is that you can never get the damn screws if they're non-magnetic to go in place properly, and then you end up losing them between the PCB and the plate. You end up having to sort of pretend that it's a maraca of some sort to be able to get the damn things out. This may not be in the perfect order, seeing as I'm not a FGH, GH, seeing as I'm not a ANSI user, so I may muck this up a little bit. Hope he's okay. Yeah, well, I'm sure that he had a absolute caner of our hangover the next day. I've honestly never seen somebody that drunk before. I mean, you can't stand, can't walk, your legs just do not work level of drunk. It was impressive, and this was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I mean, you have to be going some to be able to. Alright, I know that this is wrong here, but we're just going to go with it. Don't need you. So I have got the rest of the keys down in the drawer to my right, so I'll grab them out in a second and add them to the board. Control, Windows, all the way up, and J. So let's just move your packaging that you sent over to me. Not that one. This one. And this is probably where I'm going to find that down 7U spacebar. No. No 7U spacebar in here, unfortunately. And he asks, is the black on white set your set? Yes, it is. This is my black on white set. My originative black on white set. Had it for quite a while, and I mean, it's a sort of a staple set that you need to have. Okay, so where is, I want you delete. I don't know if I have a one-use backspace in this set. Right shift, is that the right one? same as that, right? Do we have a... So we're just going to go with... What we're going to go with... We'll go with page up. So I assume that one is page up. We'll go with that one. Do I have a backspace? So I'm looking across the set that I've got here and I can't see... I mean, I've got a 1.75U backspace. No 1U, so we'll just go with the delete key. And for this, we are going to go for page down, seeing as we've got page up there. That is the wrong profile. That's the wrong profile. Must be this one. Don't fall into the thing. There we go, that's better. So let's just put these away for now. So I'm going to just pause the music, guys, and we will give it a quick typing test. Not going to plug her in because it isn't. It hasn't been flashed, so it's likely either got the stock firmware on there or none whatsoever, and so it won't work. Plus it's in ANSI, so I'm not keen on plugging it in just at the moment, just in case it sort of fights with what I've got at the moment. So let's give the desktop audio a mute. So that's the music all done. What we'll do is we'll just bring this round, and so it's about arm's length from elbow to arm away. So let's just give this a little bit of a I'll just check to make sure that it's all working nicely. Sounds pretty nice to me. So here we go, guys. This is not having a backspace here is really weird. These feel excellent. These really do feel excellent. Oh no, I wouldn't say it sounds hollow. It's probably more the actual case and the PCB that are doing that. Under the fingers, it feels really solid. Excuse me. These feel excellent. There you go, guys. So what we've built today is, I'll just give you a little bit of a show off. So this is, we're also going to get the stream photo here. So smile, guys. What we've got here is we have got 72 gram Zealios with they're 72 gram Zealios with split springs. They have been lubed and switch filmed. They've been lubed on the bottom housing and the top housing. We've then got GMK screw and stabs that have been modified, clipped and lubed, and we've got a nice laser cut brass plate from Laserboost and a Plain60 PCB, all inside of a Tofu case. and I hope you guys have all enjoyed. But that brings us quite nicely to the end of the stream. And so in about 15 minutes time, guys, we've got another one of the UK delegation who's going to be streaming, which is Jay. And so if you go to twitch.tv/topclack, that's spelled TOPCLACK, he'll be streaming in about 15 minutes time, and let's see what he's building today. So he is going to be building Satan Anarchists board, the Rain M3. It's a little prototype board that they've been working on. I believe it's him bled in and stuff like that. I've got to learn how to do a host. Let's see if we can do it, guys. How do we host? We're going to learn how to host here, boys. Hide chat, no. Oh, no, I've just broken everything. Alright, guys. Oh, I've just got to do that command, have I? Okay, that's cool. So, we will host TopClack. So, guys, in about 15 minutes time, we will have Jay will have a stream going. So, I hope you've all enjoyed the stream. Chumandu, if you have any issues, drop me a note, but the board is feeling and sounding great. I'm going to flash it later this evening, hopefully, or maybe tomorrow. Depending on time, and I'm going to get it sent back to you so that you can play with it. But yeah, guys, I really hope that you've enjoyed the stream tonight, and hopefully next weekend I'll have another build for you. So I will talk to you all soon. Love you lots, and see you in the future, guys.